Now for this effect, I actually wanted to produce something that looked pretty much along the lines of the Ringwave effect, which was seen in Star Wars, Return of the Jedi, and so on. The special edition versions, where they were when they were revamped, basically. Having viewed the footage, I actually found out that most of the effect in them is actually not down to particles at all. It's mostly a piece of geometry which actually explodes outwards, and it's a sort of ring shape, hence the term Ringwave. And as you can see here, it then does have some supplementary particles going on with it, but basically in the original version, those were done with practical particle effects. They really were phosphors coming towards the camera, and it produced quite a nice effect, but it was a little bit deceiving in that it didn't really need to have that many particles. But I decided to kind of push ahead with it as an effect because I thought it was quite an interesting example of how to use particles to produce pretty much everything in a certain effect. And in this particular effect that you can see here, I've got a spaceship coming into view from top right. The animation on this isn't anything special at all. It's very, very static. It's quite a boring looking little scene, really. The thing to look at here is more the Ringwave effect and the particles and so on. And it's quite interesting when we have a look at the flow. You'll see how this all builds up, and it's all based on particles. The missiles coming in, they're particles. The flame effect coming off the missiles, they're actually particles as well. The Ringwave that you see in this particular effect here, that's actually a particle, although it is actually based on geometry, so it's using instance geometry. But the reason why I've actually used a particle to do it is that means that you could have a scene where, let's say, had mini ring waves, tiny little ones that maybe were a lot faster in their effect. They did a very sort of fast shoot, flying outwards and then fading out into nothing. But you could have multiple ones of those. You could have those striking on a large mothership, let's say, or you could have a big space battle and you could have multiple ring waves going off where various unfortunate pilots were being hit by these missiles and taken out by them. So it's completely procedural in that respect, and therefore it's much easier to use in a very large sort of production. You can just basically target your missiles on various spaceships, have them come in and strike the spaceships whenever you want them to strike them, and then they'll produce ring waves pretty much automatically wherever they strike those spaceships. So it's very easy to work with. You can adapt this kind of not so much this effect, but this kind of methodology to many, many different effects. It's a very, very common approach where you really want your particle flow to be as flexible as possible, and you spawning off particles and then having them split off to produce one effect, then split off again to produce another effect, like the ring wave is one effect. The sparks flying out with the ring wave is another effect. Sparks flying out in the sort of ball shape sort of explosion, that's another effect. And you could go on and on and on and on from there and have as many elements as you wanted to have in your final effect. So let's have a look now at the assets that we actually have in our scene here. If we go into perspective mode and just actually, I'll get rid of the show safe frame. We can see we've got a light in here which is just providing our sunlight. And if I just open up the particle view, go over here and turn off our particles. Now I'll just scrub through and you'll see what happens. We've got our spaceship. There he is, flying in. And you can see, if I just zoom in on him, we've got a very, very simple spaceship model here. This is just to show off this effect. It's obviously not meant to win any modeling awards. If I go down here and show this, you can see it's got two engines on it. And that's about it, really. That's our spaceship. I've got a find target icon, which you can see I've linked to the spaceship, and that's actually used in our flow. That's actually one of the operators in our flow, and that basically guides the missiles onto the spaceship and ensures that they strike it. If we go over here, we can see we've got a space warp, which is a mesh bomb, and that will actually just blow up our spaceship when it reaches a certain frame. So I just decided that I wanted our spaceship to blow up on frame 30. So you can see when it reaches here, there you go, the mesh bomb comes into effect and it actually blows the spaceship apart. So basically each part of the spaceship is actually just linked in there using the space warp binding. It's just bound to